video, we'll be doing the worst part of the rear end GTT to GTR conversion, the extended wheel well. So yeah, this is the part of the project that you probably should not be trying to do if you're like me, a basic DIY guy doing it in your garage. This took way too long, extended my whole project out, but let's see how I got it done. So one thing we had to do was cut this out because it was bent in and all mangled up, and then there's some type of stuff on here to help seal it because they put the fender flares on here. So the GTR slap on yours fender flares. So this whole thing is bent in, and you can see that it looks like they shaved it out and then put that whatever the hell putty on there to try to seal it. So Sikaflex or whatever it is, it's rubbery. So where they're trying to seal it. So we had to cut this out because it wasn't just pulling off. Like you could see it will pull off, but we couldn't get it to pull off nicely. So we had to shave all that out. But the good thing is, no matter what, we're gonna have to shave all that out anyways once we put the fender extensions on here. And for what I've seen from other videos, from Garage 23's video, these cuts are actually not too bad because the fender flare went up here. So this shouldn't be bad. We should be actually able to salvage what we need because we're gonna have to shave more of this off. So let's see how it all goes. I'm gonna have to remove all this because this is highly flammable and it's in an area that's gonna be welded. So I gotta peel all this off, which is extra work. Yay for Joe. Soundproofing. I love the idea of soundproofing all these areas, and now I'm regretting it because I got extra work to do.
Come on, man.
All right, we did the best we could with marking where the insert fits. So we've got this insert from Ulterior Motives. Trying to do the same thing Garage 23 did, but a little different is our plan. So the red, because I had to do this twice, the red is where it sets, but I'm gonna cut further out from that. So about right here is where I'm gonna cut and flip this out to try to touch the back of the wheel well, or the back of the fender or the quarter, and then shave all of this out to clean all this up. And then the same thing on this side. So about right here, flip this out to meet the back of the quarter. And then I've got one little notch on the extended quarter, or the extended, what's it called? I got one notch in here that I gotta cut out. So I'm gonna cut that notch to try to let it sit, because right now, that notch sits right on this. So I'm gonna cut that off and try to get it to work. But that's my plan right now. I'm sticking to it. We'll just start cutting and hopefully my plan works out. Let's see. Got my protective gear on. All right, these fender extensions or wheel well extensions have actually been a lot harder than I thought it would be. So I did see what Garage 23 did, and I liked their plan, but we decided to go a little bit differently on it. And maybe we should have went with what they did.
What?
But anyways, just as far as the fitment, so this is the Ulterior Motive extender fender flare, external fender flare, and it's used on the inside. So what we did is we pushed it all the way this way as we could, and then you can see it's welded, and these are all boo-boo welds. It's pretty bad, it's pretty shitty, but this has not been treated. We were just using this as tack welds, but I pushed it all the way to here. So you can see it's about right here, and this is where the quarter will actually weld to. So I didn't cut anything off of this side. And then on the back side, I did chop a little bit off. It was sitting right here, but if you look at it, I chopped about that much off of it and then notched it all the way over here to give me that notch that sits in the inside of the quarter to fill in this notch. So that gives me that to attach to here. And then this sits relatively close to the fender itself. So I had to bend this out to get it close to the fender. It's not exactly on the fender, but it's close. So we're gonna use a whole bunch of seam seal or something to fill that gap. And then I'm gonna use seam seal, then we're gonna use some undercoating spray, and then I'm gonna use some flex. I'm gonna use everything under the sun to feel under here, because I've never seen anybody show the underside of their fender afterwards, probably because it looks like shit, which is, I'm pretty sure this is gonna look like, but it's going to be sealed, and that's all that matters. As far as the top side, as you can see, I've got little notches all the way through here. And what we're gonna do is next, we're gonna sand all this out. So grind all of this out to bare metal all the way under here. And then of course, do the weld through primer. And then we're gonna bang all this down to be flush So put some heat in it. We just tested it here, but it's getting late at night, so I couldn't do it anymore. Put some heat into this and bang this flat. That's why all these notches are in it. And then with a hammer and dolly to get this nice and flat and flush, and then weld this side. So put a seam of weld all the way through here, and then weld this and this to these members here. So that is the plan for this side. And then I'm gonna flex seal the shit. Well, before I flex seal it, I will re-epoxy or weld through primer this whole side, or probably not weld through because it'll already be welded, but re-primer this whole side. Re-primer everywhere that got etched up because I've got all types of etch marks and crap over here from trying to fit this in. So re-spray all of this to make sure there's no bare metal over here. And then after that, I'm gonna flex seal the shit out of this side. So both sides are gonna have a whole bunch of stuff just to make sure it doesn't leak, because I am very worried about this leaking. So I haven't seen what anybody's wheel well actually looks like at the end, but mine is gonna have a lot of stuff to try to keep it from leaking at all. We will see what happens at the end, but just to give everybody a view of what it looks like, this is what it looks like on the back side, and this is what it looks like on the front. So it's gonna be even better when we get these welds correct, but this was just really quick tack welds with the quarter on. Now that we have the quarter off, we'll be able to weld this a whole lot better and make this cleaner. All right, we're still working on these fender flares. Got my dad over there fitting up the one on the driver's side, and I am trying to figure out a better way to do the passenger. So lessons learned. So this is not sitting too flush because we still haven't cut the top of the fender, the rear quarter. But what we're gonna try on this one is, if you look at this, this actually almost fits in here. Like this section right here is okay. Of course, it's got to come closer on the bottom, but it's not sitting perfect. But this is what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to shave this in the back and push that, so this whole tab right here, push it over to align with this back section here for that to be my template for the rear, the external fender flare. So we're gonna try that. We'll see how it works. I'm hoping that this tab right here actually hits to this tab right here. So when I bend it all out, maybe I'll get lucky and it hits here. I highly doubt I get that lucky, but if I do, then that can be my tab that goes right here, and we can actually weld these two together, and then weld the fender flare to the shape of whatever this comes out when we bang it out to the fender, to the quarter. So let's see what happens. All right, so as far as marking this out, from when the fender's on the car, going through that hole, you can mark where this actually sits on the fender. So where the front side sits on the fender, so like that motion, to get it flush against the fender and get this line. And then from there, my plan is to do a couple tacks on the front side to hold it on there, and then work across all the way to this side to make this match that gap there. So I will shave this, slowly shave this, and keep testing the fender and shaving and testing the fender until this matches that gap there, and then I'll have my fender extension. That's my plan right now. We'll see how it goes though. All right, for this cut down here, I'm gonna cut here because this is actually where the bottom of the weld is gonna be for the quarter, but I'm gonna cut here, and then I'm gonna do small little cuts all the way through here to bend this out to be the bottom of the metal extension. So I'll weld this to the bottom of the extension, and it'll help me seal all this up. So that'll give me an area up here that'll help the bottom of the extension seal to the car, and it'll give the extension itself some structure on the bottom. So that's my plan over here. So I got this little red notch right there that I'm gonna use as my first cut, and I'm gonna do little cuts like every 2 inch to bend that out, to flare it to touch to the bottom of the extension. This side is done, so we got it all welded up. The welds aren't the prettiest, I ain't gonna lie, but it's really hard welding these two dissimilar metals together. So it's different alloys, and this is thinner than that, so it just makes it a pain in the ass to weld. But anyways, what we're doing now is, I doubt you can see this, but got all the bottoms of it tacked together. We're gonna coat this with fiberglass to get a nice coating on here, and then we're gonna seal that afterwards. So we've got this long grain fiberglass. That is what we're about to coat it with. So we're gonna coat that, let it sit, and then sand it down a little bit to get it smooth. And then after that, we're gonna try to seal it from that side. And this side, we're gonna prime it, and then seam seal it, then prime it again, and then I'm gonna flex seal it, and then the inside will be done. But yeah, that's the next steps. Okay, if you're doing this in your own garage, this is not exactly a DIY project. I'm glad I got my dad here because he got years of experience at this shit. But if I would have tried this by myself, I'd have failed. But as you can see, this side is actually done. So we have primed the top side. We wire brushed everything over here to get bare metal, and then we primed it. I'm gonna still prime over here where you see a little bit of bare metal from everything else, but we're gonna prime all of this still. But there's primer all over here. We're gonna seam seal this whole side to make sure there's nothing getting in. And then on the back side, we're gonna do some long fiber glass over here and then sand that down. And then I'm gonna do undercoat spray under this. And then after that undercoat spray settles, I'm gonna flex seal this side all the way around. I'm gonna flex seal that side all the way around just to make sure nothing seeps and nothing gets any type of leaking. But it's actually the shape of the fender. The fender actually fits on really well now, but it took a really long time to get this in. Hence me saying, if you're just doing this in your own little garage like I'm doing, don't do it, save yourself. So here's where we are on this side. So this side is actually coming on a little bit faster than the other side. So what we did here is, as I explained to y'all, we spot welded this side on, and this side goes damn near to the bottom. So all the way down to here. So we can push this over to match to that, and we're gonna do all that and do all of this to the bottom side. Then we spot welded here, we spot welded here, and we spot welded here. And then now what we're doing, instead of what we did on the other side, is we're just shaving this down to fit to here. I will say that this was a fail. I kept this there and it actually didn't work out, so we pushed this over. So we're getting this in, and what we're gonna do at the end is probably flex this out just a little bit more to fit to the wheel well. Or yeah, the wheel well of the quarters. But overall, I don't think this is a job anybody should do in their own garage. Leave this to a professional with an actual shop. If you're in your own little garage, this is not the DIY project you should do in your own garage. It's too much. It's just too much. I'm tapping out. My dad down here putting that fiberglass under the wheel well to help seal it and protect it. So we're still gonna put flex seal all over this at the end, but this will help seal the gaps. So there are gaps in here. So that's what helps seal all those gaps. So using this to go through all the way. See it down there. It's gonna be done. It's gonna be done right. I mean, as right as we can do it. All right, so the extensions are on. So this is seam sealer. I've done 2 coats of seam sealer on both sides of the car. My dad did the fiberglass all on the bottom, so that'll give it some sealing and some structure down there. And then I am going to flex seal this side twice, and that'll be done with this side. I'll probably put another coat of paint on it after I flex seal it. And then after I get the quarters on, I'm gonna have to do some gap sealing back here, because this area right here was very hard to get the perfect matchup for what the fender needs and what the car needs, or what the extension needs. So I'm gonna put some gap sealer in this area, and then I'm gonna put the undercoating on the bottom and then flex seal on the bottom. So that'll be what's being done on this side. Got the same situation on this side. Did the double seam sealer, gonna flex seal this side, and then got the fiberglass down there. And then once I get the quarters on, gonna gap seal this area up and then undercoat the bottom and then flex seal the bottom. So try my best to find out all the ways possible to have this not leak. Which sucks about mine, and you'll see a lot of cars, I guess I could show y'all, I had the plan of on this side of using this right here to that piece right there. I was gonna pull it out and use against this to help fill that gap. And it's zooming in on the black wing instead of the car. But anyway, I was gonna use that to help, what's it called? Where's that piece at? It's somewhere on the ground. I just saw it, this piece. So I was gonna use this to help seal this up and actually go straight to the fender, but it didn't work out that well. So that was kind of trash. What sucked about my car is, you can see it here, with these extended, the URS extensions, they shaved this out and then just used some sealant. So all of the welds were gone. So I couldn't really do what you'll see on some other cars where they push that all out and use that. But it's gonna come along. So now I've gotta work on cleaning up all the edges on the quarters, and then not seam sealing, but weld through primer on this side. I'll do some same thing on the other side of weld through primer. And then on this side, I also have some areas like that where putting on and taking off has had some exposed metal. So I'm gonna have to clean that up and put some primer on that to make sure I don't have any exposed metal. But next step, we'll clean that up and also do the final fitment to make sure that everything is aligned. And then, yeah, we'll get this all knocked out. It's been a slow progress. Okay, I'm proud of my work on these wheel well extensions, but if you look over there, there's some light coming in. So I gotta try to fill that gap. And then I have the same thing. Sorry, y'all, it's gonna go upside down. I have the same thing over here. The gap is a lot smaller. My dad worked on this side, y'all. He's much better than I am. But I gotta fill those gaps. So after watching many of videos online, I decided to try this. So I'm gonna try to put this pillar foam in there. I'm going to seal this side. So I'm gonna try to put some tape in here to seal this to keep the foam up in there. But I'm gonna try to put this pillar foam in there. And then before that, I'm gonna use this cavity wax. So this will help keep it from corrosion and everything before, even if the water gets in there. And then after I do this, I'm still gonna do the undercoating spray. And then after that, I'm still gonna do Flex Seal. So we're gonna get this sealed, but I'm kind of worried about if I'm gonna be able to bridge this big old gap. Like you can just see the light coming in there. So we'll see how this goes. It's gonna be a multi-day process, but I'm not trying to rush this. But yeah, I've got to fill those gaps. Kind of nasty. Okay, can't remember what type of tape this is. Used it to do the butyl rubber, or not the butyl rubber, but the mass loaded vinyl, the last layer of the soundproofing inside. It's very strong and it's waterproof. So what I'm doing is I am taping all the way through here to seal the gaps to try to keep the foam on that side. So hopefully that works. And then before I do the foam, I'm gonna do this today and just let that sit overnight, and then tomorrow I'll work with the foam. But hopefully that foam will help seal all the gaps in this areas, and then after that I will Flex Seal and undercoat and all other types of stuff to try to seal this. But this is the first step. Well, if there's a such thing as too much of this stuff, I definitely used too much of this stuff. Used one whole can on this and sprayed it on both sides. Sprayed it above the gas tank, all over the place. Anywhere I think water is gonna get in. We'll see if this gives me a problem, because I've still got to get rubber shit in here. So we'll see how much of an issue me spraying this everywhere gave me. But I am better safe than sorry if I have to clean some stuff up and get some things cleaned out. But you can see the green there. Well, it looks like slime. That's actually the tape where I'm trying to keep everything that I'm spraying inside. But you can see I sprayed all the way through the other side. And then the same thing on this side. You can't really see all the way over there, but sprayed all the way to the other side on this side. So there's that gap there. I still got to seam seal the tank to the, what's it called, to the actual fender. So I still got to seam seal this. I'll worry about that later, but done for tonight. I'm gonna let this dry, see what all it does, and then I gotta find the rubber little grommets there. So this little rubber grommet, there's another little rubber grommet down there. So I gotta find those. They're somewhere around here. I'll put those on today, but yeah, done for today's work. Yay. When I was sealing the rear quarter, I kind of was in a rush. As soon as I opened up the pillar foam, I just went at it because it was, if you use it, you'll see as soon as you open it and you start mixing it, it gets kind of everywhere. So I didn't film any of that process. So now I'm trying to show out what all I did. So you're gonna need a caulk gun with the 2 pistons or whatever. I'll put the part number for this. I got it off Amazon. Amazon also sells a 3M version, which is like $150. This was like $49. So now I have one, which I'll probably never use again, but it's here. What I did is this mixing tube, it'll come with 2 of these with the pillar foam. You find some tubing that fits on this perfectly. You can just go to Lowe's and play around until you get one that fits on here perfectly. Like you want to have to shove it in there as hard as you can to get it past these little notches. So I doubt you can actually see. I don't even know where the camera is, but there's notches on here. So you want to get it on the notch where it's not going to come off. And then I'll show you on Venture. So yeah, the skyline's actually getting painted right now. I got parts all over my garage. But what you want to do is after you get that tube on there, lay the tube all the way to the front side of the wheel well, and then try to leave it on this seam here and then walk it over this way. If you have 2 people, it'll be a lot better. And as you walk it, try to extrude some of the pillar foam to seal into this area as much as you can. The good thing, at least for mine, this area wasn't that bad. The actual wheel well touched here really well. It was back in here, like shown in the video, that was bad. So this area, I used the same thing, but I was able to get a whole bunch of foam in that area. So that's what I did in that process. And another thing I didn't show is for the cavity wax. So here's the part number for the cavity wax. They sell these 3M extension wands. So I use the medium one to do the quarter panels, but I'm going to use probably the short one or maybe the long one, I don't know. But when I get the car back for all the welds in the C pillar and the B pillar, I'm going to put some of this cavity wax behind those wells to make sure it doesn't have any issues with any type of water or moisture getting in there and causing any rust. And then I'm also gonna do that area where the hose for the sunroof goes. I'm gonna do that area with some of the cavity wax also, just to have some extra protection, because I got a whole nother can of it. Why not use it? So the foam actually worked. I don't know if you can actually tell because I painted over it already. I should have did this video before, but there's foam in that area. So this is actually foam. If you hear it, it's the foam. So it sealed this big ass gap I had there, which is really good. It actually sealed a lot better down here. So there's foam in this little area. This camera. So another area the foam worked really well is here. So there's foam. You can see it barely inside of there. So that's foam actually in that area. I'm trying to zoom in on it. But you also see it down here. So there's a little bit of foam in this little area, if you see in there. So I tried to fill it all in everywhere. So the thing that's gonna suck though is I might have to get the foam off of this area because I gotta seal this with that little rubber thing. But there's foam in this little area over here also. So this is the rusty side. So I was really worried about how I'm gonna seal this. So the foam worked well. So I'm happy with the results. I gotta redo it though, because I rushed and panicked on the first try and I missed some areas. As you saw in the last video, I have the tape back up because I'm gonna redo the passenger wheel well because I ran out of the foam. There's not a whole lot of it in there, and then when you use the tube, a lot of it gets used in the tube. So I gotta redo the passenger side, and there's one spot on the driver's side I gotta redo. But overall, the foam went well. I'm gonna try to take it slow and not panic this time on this side, but yeah.